Good afternoon. My name is Murray Hitzman, and I'm the Director of iCRAG. I'd like to talk to you now about iCRAG's impacts from 2015 to 2030. So we're going to look at impacts in several different areas. These are outlined in a report which is being launched today, Impact Report 2015 to 2020 for iCRAG. The sorts of impacts are economic and commercial, human capacity, environmental, international engagement, health and well-being, policy, and public service. And all these together actually go into broader societal impacts. So iCRAG itself started in 2015 with an investment of 17.9 million euros from Science Foundation Ireland. And the vision at the time was for an applied geosciences research center that would address the big questions affecting Ireland in terms of its natural resources and its energy. So looking at its environment. And that's how we started and where we've come. One of the ways to look at impact, obviously, impact comes through scientific excellence, producing world-class science. So since 2015, iCRAG researchers have produced approximately 1,100 academic publications in a number of journals, including some of those shown here. And those publications have resulted in approximately 11,800 citations. To highlight one or two of the papers, to give you a flavor of the sort of things we're doing, in Earth Science and Society, a paper by Teresa Hooks, Professor Gertja Schuttema, and Professor Frank McDermott, so social scientists and physical scientists, paper on risk perceptions towards drinking water quality among private well owners in Ireland, the illusion of control. And this paper was based on surveys with well owners in rural Ireland, looking at how they perceived water quality. And it came up with some surprising results. It was published in a very top journal for business school rankings and really does demonstrate how the center is moving towards integration of the social and the physical sciences. Another area is in some of our platform technologies, two papers, both on looking at how we actually fingerprint detrital minerals or minerals that come down washed from continents into sedimentary basins. These technologies allowed us to, through looking at their geochemistry of the minerals and doing geochronology or dating the age of the minerals, to understand better how they came to be in the sedimentary basin. And this was figuring out a lot of very interesting geochemical techniques could be used in the laboratory. So this sort of data is critically important to the oil and gas industry, which is why the research was initially started. But now we're finding that that same data is actually critical to understanding paleoclimate and understanding the history of how basins work, which can be used then in climate reconstructions. Scientific excellence is also shown in other ways that we present our scientific data. So through those 6 years, iCRAG had over 250 times when it had or contributed its PIs, researchers, for invited speakers or keynotes. Our people made over 660 different oral presentations at meetings and conferences, and presented over 865 posters as well. iCRAG participated in and helped organize over 100 workshops and conferences through this time period. We exhibited at 30 conferences, and we held 25 stakeholder events. Now, economic impact can be measured in many ways. One of the ways is just looking at how the 17.9 million euro investment by SFI was leveraged by our researchers to actually generate 33 million euros worth of funded research. And that funding came from a variety of sectors, from other Irish government agencies, from Europe, from other international funding agencies and bodies, and of course from industry. An economic analysis undertaken by Garrett Shee using Indicon's independent assessment of economic and social impact of Irish universities estimated that the economic impact of iCRAG between 2015 and 2020 was approximately 123 million euros. Now, a lot of this work that we've conducted during this time period has been done with our industry partners, and we've been blessed by having a large number of those partners, 64 in total, and more actually as we go forward. And these partners have varied from small and medium-sized Irish enterprises to large multinationals. And what do some of these companies say about iCRAG and working with us? Well, this is a statement by Ian Fairley, who's head of the exploration department at Tara Boliden Mines up at Navan. And he said that our researchers have been involved with the company in helping to discover more zinc and lead reserves at the mine, and that our researchers are helping to improve their understanding of the deposit and with the ongoing delineation of the new Tara Deep ore body. Dr. Billy O'Keefe, senior geologist, hydrogeologist at Transportation Infrastructure Ireland, also came up with these statements, one of which, the collaboration with iCRAG, has highlighted the breadth of knowledge available in Ireland in subsurface imaging, understanding karst features, and the potential impact of geological hazards on transport infrastructure. And he went on that the robust research outputs have also provided evidence-based research for certainty. Dr. Paul Doherty, the managing director of Gavin Doherty Geosolutions, said that his company recognizes the emerging talent being developed within iCRAG, and that his company sees iCRAG as a collaborator that facilitates the company exploring new and innovative business streams through novel technology and processes. And I think this quote is important, especially for the first point about emerging talent, because one of the things iCRAG certainly has done is increased human capacity in the geosciences. So we've had a number of graduates, PhDs, masters, and postdocs, and they have developed a wide skill set that is in demand across industry, government, and academia. And to take three examples, Oakley Turner went to industry after his PhD with iCRAG and is now actually managing exploration for the critical battery metals cobalt and copper with Anglo American in Zambia. Teresa Hooks, after completing her work with iCRAG, went first into local government and is now working with Chagas, actually addressing the multiple needs in the agricultural sector here in Ireland due to the climate emergency. And finally, Stephen Hollis, again, after doing a postdoc with iCRAG, is now a lecturer at the University of Edinburgh. Societal impact also comes about through engagement with the public, or the publics, as we like to say, because there's many different people in the public. And so through the 6-year period, we had engagement with over 125,000 individuals. And we did that through a number of means, over 450 events and activities, 120 media contributions, 69 school workshops. And interestingly, we also worked with 13 artists in various ways to showcase how science can be expressed through the arts. And an example of all these sorts of engagement is the Girls into Geoscience Ireland. This is a program that annually brings in girls, women, young women, who are thinking about careers in the sciences. And before they get to college, introducing them to other women who are in the geosciences and at various stages in their careers to sort of showcase what a geoscience career is all about and to show them what they can do, some of the excitement in this field going forward. And while this was very popular pre-COVID when they were in person, the numbers actually participating have increased during COVID where we could do the meetings virtually. Environmental impact is central to much of what iCRAG has been doing and certainly will be doing in the future. The changes in the Earth system are certainly leading to a cascade of environmental impacts that are having really significant effects, not only here in Ireland, but across the globe. So Ireland is located at a very interesting place. It sits in the North Atlantic on the edge of Europe. And this gives us a particularly excellent perch to observe and understand the changes that are happening in both climate and biodiversity, and to develop successful mitigation and adaptation strategies, both for Ireland, but some of the strategies hopefully can work elsewhere around the planet. So some of the areas that specific areas we've been involved in the last several years. One of my favorites is the work that's happened in marine noise pollution. PhD researcher Owen Daly and Dr. Martin White actually did a study that revealed that noise from bottom trawling traveled through the water column in what now seems normal, but what at first was unusual. So if any of you who have stood in a deep canyon in the mountains or above a mountain valley and yelled, there's an echo that you can hear. Well, it turns out that echoes also happen underwater. Not surprisingly when one thinks about it, but it wasn't something that people really had thought about. So this study demonstrated that this sort of noise from trawling actually went through submarine canyons and could be focused. And this noise actually forms noise pollution, but is potentially harmful to marine cetaceans. And so this work is going to help inform pending legislation on Ireland's offshore and its uses. In terms of health and well-being, Dr. Gino Dwyer, you're going to hear from later this afternoon, worked with researchers at TU Dublin to track COVID-19 clusters based on georeference data. And they did this using advanced modeling and spatial analysis together with traditional epidemiology. And they developed a new tool which is being used by policymakers to prompt real-time emergency management. In terms of public policy and public service impact, another example, which again sort of comes straight from the headlines. So many of you the last couple of months have probably seen on RTE the protests that have happened with a number of homeowners from the northwestern part of the island who have had issues with mica in their concrete blocks, causing their houses to crack and have structural issues. This wasn't the first time that concrete blocks had a problem. Earlier, we had pyrite damage to housing as well. And this had a huge impact with huge estimated total costs. Researchers in iCRAG used machine learning methods on geochemistry of aggregate material, in other words, the minerals that were in those concrete blocks, to actually aid in determining where those materials actually were sourced. And this data is now being used by the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage to actually understand better supply chains going into construction materials, and hopefully can help lead to lesser bills going forward for the government and hopefully help house owners. Another area where we've used similar types of high-end world-class analytical technologies to help public policy. So Dr. Richard Unit and Pat Meir of iCRAG use mineralogical and microstructural data on small rocks, pieces of rock that are in road called aggregate, looking at their surface. And the image here actually is a topographic map of a nanoscale of a piece of this rock. And what you can imagine is you want a road to be not too slick so that the car actually slides, but not too rough that it actually takes too much energy to drive down the road or it's too bumpy. So sort of a Goldilocks, not too much one, not too much the other. These technologies that we have allow us to actually image the surface of the rocks, understand how they behave with wear, and come up with various ways of getting the ideal type of rock to be used. And this work now has been used by Transportation Infrastructure Ireland as part of a nationwide study to determine the risk parameters for the National Road Network. And the data that they generated will also be incorporated into Irish standards and hopefully into European standards as well. International engagement. iCRAG is itself international. We have researchers within the group which come from all over the globe, over 30 countries, and that probably will grow. If you look at the papers we've published, who are the collaborators we're working with? Well, it turns out they're from all over the world. Not surprisingly, most of our collaborators are from our next door neighbor, the UK, but we have a significant number of collaborators in Germany, the United States, and China. And as you look further down the list, almost all the countries of Europe are there, as well as a couple of surprising ones, India, New Zealand, not surprisingly, Canada. And international engagement through a variety of other means. So pre-COVID, Dr. Gertje Sutema actually ran what's called the RESTORE program, the Researching Social Theories, Resources, and Environmental International Summer School, which brought 42 young researchers, both geoscientists and social scientists, from 21 countries to Ireland for a week-long workshop on natural resource issues. After the pandemic started and we weren't able to do in-person meetings, iCRAG partnered with the IUGS and UNESCO on a lecture series entitled Earth Materials for a Sustainable and Thriving Society. And this lecture series had incredible reach, over 4,300 registrants from 145 countries, and the lecture series on YouTube is still being used right now in teaching classes around the world and has many, many uploads. So incredibly successful and impactful. And another one that I'm very proud of from iCRAG is our PhD and postdoctoral researchers got together last year. They had a real interest in equality, diversity, and inclusion in the geosciences. So the first thing they did is actually undertook a global survey on these issues, and that led them actually with the results to prepare then a 2-day conference last December. That conference is very well attended, attracted people again from around the planet. And based on that, they now have a network which has gone global. So it's now a new group called EDIG, which is partnering with many other NGOs and other groups around the world on these really important issues. Another area we've started in the last 6 years, but are continuing, and that is iCRAG was a founding member and helped put together the All Island Climate and Biodiversity Research Network, the so-called AICBRN. This was launched during COP26 by the Taoiseach, Micheál Martin, and the Deputy First Minister of Northern Ireland, Michelle O'Neill. So what I've described here, the impacts and the report that is being launched, basically say what we've done, but it's really a prologue because impacts, especially of world-class science, can take decades before their full effects are actually felt. So this is just the beginning. And iCRAG is building on its first 6 years and moving forward with a diverse and dedicated team of world-class researchers from a range of scientific, engineering, and social science fields. We're developing and using cutting-edge technologies and analytical equipment at multiple scales from the nano to the planetary. We're working with SMEs as well as some of the world's largest multinational companies. Our work focuses on the big problems facing Ireland and the world with regards to energy and natural resources such as water, minerals, and infrastructure materials. Most importantly, we're producing the knowledge and the human capacity for evidence-based policy, which will be critical to achieve the United Nations sustainability goals. So iCRAG continues to generate significant impacts both here at home and internationally. And with that, I'd like to thank you very much. And I really hope you enjoy the rest of the day. I'm looking forward to it. It should be extremely interesting. Thank you.